And it's now time for SME on Point. And this week we feature the story of a Cape Town fine artist whose exquisite handiwork is making waves. Sikho Mququ sells his pottery and ceramics to local customers, but he also has an international following. Although business has been quite slow because of the COVID-19 pandemic, he's still hopeful of growing his mini enterprise. His story is edited by Liabo Setho. Sikho Mququ is a Cape Town-based fine artist, a ceramist and a production potter. Although shy in nature, his work is nothing but exceptional. Mququ studied fine arts backed up by his natural creative streak.
The products that I do is mostly functional items. I would say like 80% functional and 20% deco items, which is the functional. We talk about the tableware, your coffee mugs, your tea sets, your jugs, you name them. But when it comes to the deco ones, we're talking about the vases and the lidded jars, and including sculptures. And also clients would want me to customize their items as well. So I'm very versatile. I do anything that can be made out of clay.
While this has been a rewarding journey, challenges have been there.
Challenges that I've experienced so far is a space and also the money to buy materials, because most of the time you do the work, you sell, and you basically living out of the income that you're making in the business, because it's not big yet.
Even though space is an issue, the appetite for his wear is evident. He boasts a growing customer base both locally and internationally. But in the days of COVID-19, his business, along with others, has taken a knock.
We used to have these great markets, especially craft markets that we attend during the weekends or once a month or something like that. But then now, since we on lockdown, we are under these restrictions, there's just nothing much happening. So we just relying on the social media and the internet only.
Despite the setbacks, he still has dreams for his ceramic business.
The future for my business is looking really bright. I'm looking at having a big factory, a big ceramic handmade stuff in the factory that will be exporting and selling local, and also getting local people to come and employing local people, employing young people, including the old ones.
Liabo Setho, SABC News, Johannesburg. Exceptionally beautiful work there by Sikho Mququ, and we thank him for sharing his story with SME on Point. So while industries grapple with the impact of COVID-19, the maritime industry has not been spared. The supply chain has been disrupted and trade has come to a halt, especially because most goods are transported by sea. Last week, the Africa Oceans Dialogue held a virtual discussion on how small businesses in the industry have been impacted and what can be done to assist them. To discuss this further, I am joined via Skype by Commander Tsietsi Mokhele. He is the CEO of Africa Oceans Dialogue. Commander Mokhele, thank you so much for making time to speak to us on SME on Point.
Good day also for having us.
Commander Mokhele, can you just paint us a picture of just how badly the maritime and oceans economy industry has been impacted because of the COVID-19 pandemic? We do know that, we've seen its remnants and the ravages that it has caused in other industries. What about this industry?
Yeah, I think firstly, because shipping is the mover of global trade. If you look at, for example, 80% of trade is conducted shipping and port.
Yeah.
And that trade in South African terms constitutes over 60% of our GDP. So the total GDP basket of South Africa is trade related, not an export. Now, considering just these two, the border closures, the lockdown of COVID, the inability to connect seafarers via aviation from different markets of ships and cargo of ships, the cruise industry, all of these industries are drivers of traditional trade. So when it to a halt, it means that look up to a halt. And to South Africa translates directly into a GDP.
I'm quite interested in finding out about the small businesses within the industry and how they have particularly been impacted. You know, I know that you have a lot of people who are in the fisheries industry, and even those who are in the shipping of containers, who are still largely, still quite relatively small. How are you finding the knock-on effect, particularly on smaller businesses?
I think smaller businesses have been the most impacted in this pandemic. And if you look at measures that have been put in place, very few of the measures are pointed direct to the most impacted businesses in the maritime space. Starting with marine tourism. Marine tourism, water-based hospitality facilities are normally the biggest drivers of tourism in the global market. And the SME board. With the closures of hospitality and tourism, it has led to a situation where most of those facilities have not been trading for quite some time. And when they do get back into trading, they are trading on numbers that are much lower due to the impact of COVID on communities' ability to be mobile, to be accommodated, and to have access. The second market is the fisheries and aquaculture. We have seen the closure of fisheries and aquaculture because of the inability to export what they catch, the inability to exchange a cruise at sea, and the people who have small fishers selling fishing to restaurants, they've been stuck, not able to sell their products.
Commander Mokhele, let's talk about the stimulus package. I know that during the dialogue last week, there was talk about a stimulus package that's needed for this industry. How much would be needed to get this industry kick-started and at least to be cushioned?
Fortunately, the ocean and maritime industry is predominantly an economic and productive sector. Whatever money you put in is money you get out. So the sector is not looking so much at grants, but is looking at, for an example, we know that there was a delay in the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area agreement in July, and it has been moved to January. We're thinking that when January comes, the SME sector must be the key drivers of the recovery. And in our maritime industries, we're looking at marine manufacturing, we're looking at huge capacity that was being developed in the aquaculture space. We're looking at hospitality, and we're also looking at ports. Ports building the capacity to export more and to receive more imports. And in that regard, if you look at the logistics companies, most of the logistics support companies are SMEs. So we really think that the stimulus package that we're seeing necessary for our sector is largely productive capital that is required, not so much of grants. Yes.
Commander Mokhele, unfortunately, this is all we have time to chat about. I did want to speak to you about digitization in the sector, but I guess we'll have to postpone that for another time when we do talk about the oceans economy and the maritime sector. But, sir, thank you so much for making time to speak to us on SME On Point.
It's been a pleasure to have us. Thanks so much.
That was Commander Tsietsi Mokhele. He is the CEO of Africa Oceans Dialogue, and he was speaking to us about the impact of small businesses within the maritime and also the oceans economy. And after this, it will be Nastasia Arendse, and she's got books on point.